at Dayton. And that is they selected their panel on Friday, and they're gonna start next Monday. And they're debating about topics about housing. So this is a new tool that is being used across the country to take things that might be a little bit contentious or might be a little bit complicated and bring the public into decision making. Does that all make sense to anyone? Okay. This is a really, really exciting moment for us. Like I said, 3 years. That 3 years has been planning. It's been talking with people around the world who are experts in this. I can't imagine how many conversations we've had. Probably 500. 200, okay. Probably 200, maybe 250, with people across the world trying to understand what this is and how we could do one here in Lexington. We obviously went through this lottery selection process, but we considered dozens of different venues across the city. We had to raise enough money to be able to put on the Civic Assembly to make sure that y'all could be compensated for your time fairly. So it has been a long process getting up to this moment. And part of that process was engaging with local government and making sure that local government took this process seriously and really reckoned with the recommendations that you all will be producing over the next month. So with that, I think I am going to introduce Mayor Linda Gordon to come up and say a few words to y'all about this. And we're so excited that the mayor is here. So I'm going to turn it over to the mayor.
Hello, everybody. Has it been boring or what's going on? I thought you'd, just be like all excited. You're a select group, you know that, right? Well, I'm really grateful and thankful for each of you for being willing to be at this very first ever, I think, Civic Assembly in Lexington. So you're making history, and it's really good, and it's a great opportunity for public participation, which is what we dearly love here. I know you started a little bit earlier with Richard and Kit and maybe Tanya, yeah, and so you got to know each other a little bit, and you're going to do that even more as the time goes on. But I did want to say a couple of things. So the task that you are doing is very important to our whole community, all 329,000 people. It's a lot of people. So it's really great that you will explore participation, trust in government, those kinds of topics that allow people to engage with government. And you'll be looking at the charter, I believe. This document created our nonpartisan government, merged, and it is the framework that guides the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Council, and it has worked very well for us for 52 years. It was a very rare thing here in Kentucky for a government to merge and then design its own charter. It's like our Constitution. And so it's just been ticking along for several decades. Your work, I believe, has the potential to change or influence the charter, depending on what happens. And, for us in government, I say this a lot to groups of people, our main job in government is to serve people. It is nothing else. And so when I look through the different divisions and work with them on different projects, if they're not oriented toward serving people, they usually don't work out very well. And so we pivot to other things. So that is our job, our main job. And so we exist to serve you and all the people in Fayette County. And that is all kinds of things, right? Garbage collection, pave roads, fill those potholes. But Vice Mayor, I think we've done over 800 potholes since the beginning of the month, of last month. We, of course, love our parks. I think many of you do too, and we keep those working well for people. There are just many, many, many ways that we serve you and the public. So just kind of as I wrap up my remarks, I want to say that one of the most important things about government is transparency. And we're big on that, and that's part of what this is about, right? Is to be transparent and to help other people understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. So just finally, I want to give a big shout out to Richard Young and Kit and Tanya, because they have a big job to do to lead this effort. And we're really thankful for you and your willingness to do it. And I hope you have a great time together. I hope you learn a lot about our community and the way it runs and the way you think it should run, and that you hear lots and lots of input from the people who live here. They're the ones you're going to make decisions for as a representative group. So thank you very much. Really happy to be here.
Great, thank you so much, Mayor Gordon. Now we'd like to invite up Vice Mayor Dan Wu to make a few remarks to you all. We've worked very closely with Vice Mayor in the very beginning phases of this process. So we're grateful for him for being here today.
Thank you, Richard. How are y'all doing this afternoon? One of the things that motivates me in my work as a local legislator, to be perfectly frank, is bragging rights. And what that means is anytime that Lexington can be on the forefront of something or doing something for the first time, either in the state of Kentucky or in the country, that always really excites me. And the fact that this is the first civic assembly of this kind, this size, certainly in Lexington, definitely in Kentucky, it hasn't been done very much in the United States, period. So I love that you all are kind of the first wave of testing out a way of public engagement that hopefully will spread to the rest of the state and to the rest of the country, and I think it really will. This has been a long effort. I've been involved in this since I got into office almost 4 years ago now, in 2023. And so now to see this really come to fruition has been really great. When we first put charter review as an item in committee, we knew a few things. We knew that the charter, major changes to the charter had to be triggered by a ballot initiative. It wasn't something that council members could go in there and just kind of tweak on our own. So we knew eventually that decision would have to go to the people. And then we thought about something too, that anytime government is trying to put together a working group or a task force to work on something, very often what happens is the group of decision makers say, well, who do I know that would be good for this group? And so I look through my Rolodex and look through my friends or engaged folks. And what ends up happening a lot is you end up with the same bunch of people, right? They're great people, they're engaged people, they're people who know the system or have relationships with us, but it's not representative of the entire city the way this group really is. So I'm really excited about that. So we knew from the get-go after we talked to CivicLex that we as council members wanted to kind of take a step back once we kind of framed how things we thought were going to work. We wanted to step back from it. So we had no influence or say in creating this group, right? It was done in such a unique and very democratic way. So that's exciting. You are going to be tackling two main topics. One is compensation for council members, and the other is charter review itself. Compensation for council members has been a long simmering discussion that we've had in the community. Like a lot of places, our council, going back years, has been one type of person very often, right? People used to joke that the people who can run for city council are either rich, retired, or in real estate. And I'll add attorney to that as well. So people who have the means, the time, the energy, the flexibility to serve in what really is a full-time job that kind of has part-time pay. So it's really limited who can seek office. In the last 6 to 8 years, when you look at a picture of council, that's really, really changed. We have ushered in the last couple elections the most diverse council we've ever had. The most women, the most queer folks, the most people of color. I'm the first immigrant council member that Lexington has ever seen. All of that is really exciting. But what's also happening is, as I do this job, I realize how many of my coworkers have second jobs and how much time can they commit to things. So this is a really big topic, and I'm really glad you all are tackling it. In terms of charter review, the last time we took a serious look at our charter was around 30 years ago, I believe. So be able to have a process potentially would be really, really great. The council has passed a resolution to essentially say that we will take your recommendation seriously. We will receive it formally and we will respond to it formally, right? At this point, because we don't know what your potential recommendations could be, we're not making a commitment to supporting or denying any of that. But we realize how important this work is, and we're going to really take it seriously. So what you all are going to work on these next few weeks has serious consequences and has serious stakes for how Lexington moves as a city. And that should be really exciting. There's a part of me that's a little bit jealous that this is not a group that I could be a part of, So I'm really, really excited for you all. In my office, we work very hard to create what we call community champions, which are engaged residents of Lexington who want to understand how government works and want to let their voices be heard, and also to share that knowledge and that information with their neighbors. And so my hope is, regardless of what recommendations you all come out with, we're going to have 36 more community champions for the city. So I really appreciate all the work you all are about to do, and have fun. We'll see you soon.
Everybody, thank you so much. Just a couple quick notes. You will have noticed that the assembly session is now open to the public, a limited number of public seats, because we believe that transparency is incredibly important to this process. You guys are the experts of your own experiences and own lives and here to represent the public, but we also want everybody who didn't get a postcard or maybe who didn't get selected in the Civic lottery to be able to understand this process and what's going on. So welcome to our members of the public. Thank you for being here. Just a heads up of what's about to happen. In a minute, don't all stand up yet. We are going to do a group photo up here on the stage. Try to arrange yourselves into 3 rows, do you think, Brandon? 3 to 4 rows, 1 on the floor here, right in front of the stage, 1 behind the stage, and then maybe 2 behind the stage. We'll see how that goes. Right along the stage here. And then after that, we're going to break into an icebreaker activity. And Tanya, do you want half on one side, half on the other? Okay. So once the group photo breaks up, just try to arrange yourselves half over here and half over there. Does anybody have any questions in this moment? Okay. All right. Everybody up. Let's do a photo and then we'll split into the room.
It's gonna take time.
Yeah.
Is this how you want it?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Get up here.
Oh, we're gonna do it. Might be the hardest part of the assembly. Yeah, here, like this. I'm in the photo.
Susan, if you'd like to join the photo, you can join the photo.
Trying to find a window.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, it's okay.
this in the back, let me have you come, I'll be very,
Yeah.
I'll be able to see you.
Okay, well.
Very good.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Just gonna give you a couple sessions. All right. Yeah, I believe I can see everyone. Real quick, Capricorn Soldiers, pull this table back right in front of me. Those two chairs as well. Thank you. We go back 3 more feet. Two more feet. We shrink the chair. Just put the chair on that side. We should be. Everyone's great. Nice and tall, big smiles. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. That. 3, 2, 1. Last one. 3, 2, 1. Anyone else want to grab one? Feel free. I'm sorry, it's not good.
Assembly on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Wait, I blinked. Every time? Very rapid play.
Okay, this could look a little bit like herding cats, but we're gonna try. So, on both sides of the room, I need you to form a circle. So over here, form a circle. Over here, form a circle. Thank you. Learn from your friends over here. All right. If you are in the middle, you will not be moving if you are in the middle. The outer ring will be moving. I'll be asking you a series of questions. I will ask you to first introduce yourself to the person in front of you, so you'll say your name. And then I will be asking a series of questions. Once you all have both answered, so the person in front of you should answer. Once you have both answered, you will thank your partner, and then I will give a new question, and you will move if you are on the outer circle. Stay in the middle, if you're in the middle circle, don't move. So that way, you're gonna move one step to your right. Okay, we're gonna try a practice round. The first question, how long have you lived in Lexington? First, introduce yourself to your partner with your name, and then answer that question, and then I will have you thank your partner, and then we will move. Go. How long have you lived in Lexington? This is a practice round. The second person should be answering now. The second person should be answering. All right, thank you very much. Thank your partner. Thank your partner. And if you are on the outside, move one step to your right. You have a new partner. Introduce yourself to your partner. Have you moved one step to the right? Outside folks, move one step to the right. Your favorite restaurant in Lexington. Go. Favorite restaurant in Lexington. All right, thank you, partner. Thank you, partner. You can hear my voice clap once. If you can hear my voice clap twice. If you can hear my voice say whoop, 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 whoop. Thank you so much. Thank your partner, please. And those on the outside circle, move one step to your right. Now have your partner. All right, next question. What is your favorite outdoor activity in Lexington? Your favorite outdoor activity in Lexington? Thank you for being here. If you are a guest, everyone else knows this already, but bathrooms are down the hall to the right, and then take another right. The bathrooms are down that way. So what I would like to do next is go ahead and invite Kit up to share a little bit about what we're going to do next. And then after that, we will probably have a little bit of a break and transition to get to the next space that we're moving to. So Kit, come on up.
Okay, everybody, I'm about to move this and hopefully not throw up my computer. Okay, that was awesome. That was very exciting. We are now going to slow it down, a little bit of a change of pace for our first presentation of the day from yours truly about this process and what the heck you guys are here to do. The moment you've all been waiting for, I know. So just a heads up, this is going to take about 15, 20 minutes. After that, we will have our next break. I've heard a couple people say they'd like to get outside. That can be a moment to grab some sun. And then after that break, we are going to split up into 3 groups in 3 different rooms and get our next presentation about local government. So that's what's coming. But I'm just going to talk about the assembly for a minute. I will try to pause for questions at a few places throughout, and then also hopefully time for questions at the end. Do we have any questions right now before? You guys don't even know what to ask about yet, so it's kind of a trick. Okay. So, what is a civic assembly? You guys are a civic assembly. Congratulations. I know Richard talked about this a little bit, but a civic assembly is a group of randomly selected and often demographically representative members of a community who are asked to come together to learn about an issue or topic and to ultimately reach some sort of recommendations or consensus on how that topic should change. So and what that topic is varies widely. Civic assemblies have been used around the world to solve a lot of like thorny, tricky issues. Oftentimes for governments, it doesn't have to be for government, but some examples of assemblies, France, the entire nation of France did an assembly about nutrition. And what should the government's role be in helping the people of France be more nutritious? I honestly don't know what they recommended for that one, but check it out. Copenhagen did one just about their parking downtown. That was a thorny enough issue for them that they were having such a hard time solving on their own that they did a civic assembly just about parking. And they've been used all over the world for different topics to try to get everyday people's voices without agendas, just speaking from their own personal experience involved in how a decision should potentially change. So, how did you get here? Hopefully everybody knows that, but just to recap, you were selected through a civic lottery. In that process, we mailed out 11,500 postcards to 10,000 randomly selected addresses in Lexington. We did a small batch of reminder postcards, so that's why there was 11,500 postcards. And we had a list of every single residential address in Fayette County, and we just used, a software to pick out 10,000 of those completely at random, and those are the 10,000 households we sent postcards to. As you probably remember, that postcard had an invitation to apply to the assembly, and in that application, you gave kind of some answers about who you are and some of your demographic categories. So how old you were, what's your gender, what part of town do you live in, what's your educational background? All of those questions were in that application. From that, we had, I think it was 381 applications come in. So congratulations for being chosen out of those 381 people. But we built something called the Civic Lottery, where we essentially had the demographics of Lexington as a community. We know kind of what our community looks like, right? It's about half men and it's about half women. There's some, I think, gosh, I should know these numbers. I think like 13% of the community is under the age of 25. And then we know, 10% is in their 30s and 10% is in their 40s. We went through a bunch of different demographics and used a software called Panelot that is meant for this exact purpose, where we basically plugged in, okay, here are the demographics of Lexington. Here's what we know about our population as a whole. Here's everybody who applied to our assembly. How many groups can you build to match the demographics of Lexington with the people who applied? In our case, we had 204 panel options. that matched the demographics of Lexington with the applications that we got. And then, I don't know, did anybody watch the Civic Lottery on January 28th? Okay, great. So then you guys already know all of this. We did a live stream Civic Lottery with a bingo cage where we picked which of those 204 panels we were actually going to use. And I believe it was lucky number 24 panel. So congratulations to panel number 24. That's you guys. That's who was picked. And that is our Civic Assembly. And I will also say we have a good number of people in the room who are picked as alternates. And we are also incredibly grateful to you guys. So, you know, those invitations to apply to the assembly, they went out last November and December. You guys probably got the postcard in early December of last year. There's a lot that can happen, you know, between December and March. And so we had some people who weren't able to participate, and we did kind of a second randomized drawing of alternates to fill those spots. And so I think we have like 8 alternates in the room. You guys were also selected anonymously to try to meet those demographic goals as a total. So thank you so much to all the alternates. I particularly want to shout out BS and David, who were alternates who were selected on Friday. So they, at the drop of a hat, have participated in a civic assembly. We had a couple of last minute dropouts, and so we are so grateful to you all to be here. Does anyone have any questions about how you were selected and how you got in this room? Okay, wonderful. So this is the big one. What is your job? What the heck are you guys here to do? The first one is just to show up. And I think more than any particular content thing, this is the one that's most important to me. We want you guys to be here and be able to participate in this space. And that showing up, it looks like talking and listening, as we covered in our community agreements. It looks like asking questions. At any point, if you have a question, please ask. One diva, one mic, but raise your hand and you can always ask a question. It means forming opinions. Basically, how this is going to go, our first few sessions are really about education and taking things in. You're going to hear a lot of new information. Your job is just kind of take that in, process it, and then the entire second half of the assembly, we're going to be asking you guys, what do you think we should do? So you have to kind of take that information in, process it, take what you know about Lexington, and think, okay, how do I want this community to change, and what recommendations can I make to make that happen? And in those later sessions, we call it deliberation. That's when we're really coming up with the ideas for how we might want the charter to change. Showing up also looks like agreeing and disagreeing. There are going to be times when people in this room will be on either side of an issue. That is completely okay. That is actually what assemblies are all about. You don't really want to do assemblies on a boring topic, right? Because it's just really not worth all the fuss for something we all already agree on. We wouldn't do an assembly on, you know, what's the most winningest team in college basketball history, because we all know it's UK. You don't need an assembly on that. But on issues like this, where there's really good points on a lot of different sides, right? Like, none of these sides are bad, but they are different, and it's your guys' job to disagree and to be able to, like, talk about that respectfully and hopefully reach a consensus. So, and then to reach a group decision, to hopefully reach a group decision on how you would like the charter to be amended. I do say hopefully, because we can't guarantee that this group is going to reach a consensus, right? We can't guarantee that a majority of us will agree on how we think the topic should change. So it's possible that we won't be able to pass out recommendations at the end of this process if we can't agree. And if that happens, that's okay. It won't maybe lead to a policy change. We'll still be able to report out at least on what we learned and what we thought. But what we're hoping can happen is we can come up with an idea that a big part of this group agrees on, that we think the city will agree on also. And what are we deliberating about? Oh, I'm sorry, Claudia. These glasses are awesome, by the way. I should put them on. Okay. And what are we deliberating on? Okay, so I know you guys have heard a little bit about these topics, and you're going to hear a lot more about them. But to just give you an idea of what's coming, you have what assemblies call mandates. That is the key question that you are going to try to answer. And in our case, we have 2 mandates. The first mandate is on council compensation. And the question is, what changes should Lexington's Urban County Charter make to council member compensation to improve representation, trust, and participation in local government? So, as maybe we know, maybe we don't. Lexington has council members. We have 15 council members. They're elected to represent the community as a whole. And right now, they make about $40,000 a year. And there's also right now written in like a small cost of living increase every year where it goes up by, I think it's like 1 or 2% every year. This is a divisive issue in Lexington. I think you've already started to hear perspectives on council compensation and what that means for Lexington and what that means for how the people of Lexington are represented. But CivicLex, when we were planning this assembly, we actually did a survey of the entire city of Lexington on what topics they thought this assembly should tackle. We had like a list, I think, of 9 topics, and we had to narrow it down to 2. And in that survey, which we heard from over 1,000 people through the survey and the kind of in-person conversations we had, this was the most divisive issue. It was almost half and half. Half of people were like, yeah, I think compensation is good the way it is, and half of people thought that it should be raised. And there was also a decent chunk of people who thought, well, maybe it should be lowered. Maybe it should be a volunteer position, and this is about public service. So this was the issue that was the most divisive of anything that we talked to people about, which is a great topic for an assembly. Another reason why we think this topic is good for the assembly is just calling it out. It's really hard for a council to set their own pay, right? It's hard to deliberate on that, and it's hard to then go to the community and be like, hey, guys, I don't get to set my own pay. I don't get to go up to Richard and be like, Richard, I've deliberated and I've decided how much money I should make. It doesn't work like that, right? So this is a good topic where we think having everyday people who represent all across Lexington figure out, okay, what do we actually want this to mean for our community, for the way it is right now, and also for how it is in the future, and hopefully maybe reach a consensus on what that looks like. And it is interesting, I can't ask Richard, I can't just tell him how much money I think I should make, but that's a decision that he can just make, right? In the case of council members, how much money they make is literally written in the charter. You basically need a constitutional amendment to change how much money council members make. It's locked in. The charter is kind of like almost the foundation of local government, and it's not something that gets changed very often. As Vice Mayor Wu mentioned, last time the charter was even looked at to be changed was in 1998. So it takes a little bit more of a process than most salary conversations, but that's why we think it might be good for the assembly. Do we have any questions about council compensation? Yes?
What was the result in 98?
We are going to get into that, but there was actually no changes that passed in 1998. So the group that reviewed it had 9 recommendations. 1 made it on the ballot, which was 1 or 2 made it on the ballot, and which was trying to increase the term lengths of council members. So right now, council members are elected for 2-year terms if they're in a district, and then 4-year terms if they're at large. And that did not pass the public vote, so that didn't end up getting changed. So the charter hasn't actually been changed since the 80s. Yes. Richard does the charter research. Okay, other questions about council member compensation? Okay, great. Second mandate, the second big question you're going to be tackling is charter review. How should Lexington's urban county charter be reviewed over time to ensure it stays current and relevant? Right now, there is no particular schedule for review in the charter. Some cities do a charter review every 5 years or every 10 years. Right now, there's nothing about that in ours. It can happen whenever kind of a group picks it up and wants it to happen, but there's no schedule. And right now, the way it's written in the charter, there's one kind of official option for reviewing the charter through something called a well-named Charter Review Commission. There are other ways to do it, but that's the only kind of structure in place right now. So basically, right now, there's not a lot in the charter about how it should be reviewed. And it's up to you guys to decide, maybe that's good. Maybe it's good to leave it open-ended and it should stay how it is. Maybe we want to add a schedule to that of how often it should at least be looked at. Maybe we want to add a process of, a certain group or timeline or requirements for who's involved for how the charter should be looked at. And in that survey that we did, talking to kind of the whole city about what topics, this was the most popular issue. I think 80-something% of people were like, yeah, we do think the charter should be reviewed regularly. So that was actually a very popular issue. So this is, for us, CivicLex, we're kind of experimenting with this project a little bit. And we think it's gonna be interesting to have our most divisive issue and our most popular issue both being figured out by this group. Questions about charter review? Okay, great. How is this gonna work? So we are here, Sunday, March 1st, orientation. I think you guys know the purpose of today is to get oriented, is to build the foundation that you are going to be working from for the next 4 weeks about this assembly. After orientation, our next 2 sessions, which are going to be those 2 on the Tuesdays, are going to be about education. That's where you're going to get a lot of content, a lot of information, a lot of perspectives from different people on these issues and how different people think maybe they should change. You'll hear from past and current council members. You'll hear about peer cities and how other cities compensate their council members or how other cities do charter review. You'll hear more about the charter itself and what's even in there and how does it affect our lives in Lexington. All of that will be covered in these education sessions. And that will be essentially the first half of the assembly is this orientation and then this education. And then after that, we're kind of going to switch gears. And that's when we get into the deliberation. So March 14th, the 28th, and the 29th, that is where it's going to go back to you guys to figure out, okay, what changes do we maybe want to think about happening and how do we get there? How do we write those up? So we will deliberate on council compensation. We will deliberate on charter review. We'll go through kind of a process of brainstorming priorities, trying to agree on those as a group, and then trying to come up with potential policy changes that meet those priorities. And then on the very last day, on March 29th, we will have proposals for potential amendments to the city charter, and you guys will vote on if we want to pass those proposals out of the assembly. If we do pass proposals out of the assembly, we will then present those to our city council, who, as Vice Mayor Wu mentioned, has kind of committed to hearing that. We're actually already on the schedule. On April 28th, we're going to be presenting to the city council about the assembly. And if we have specific policy recommendations, that is where we will be saying them. And that is where council will be voting whether or not they should be placed on the ballot. And if council votes to place them on the ballot, then this November, this election year, the entire city will be voting on what we talk about in this room. There's a lot of gates to pass before we get there. It's not a guarantee that that's going to happen. We have to first agree as a group, then we have to see if council agrees, then it goes to the ballot. But that is the potential process to amending the charter that we might be going along. Does anybody have questions about that process? Yes.
The voting, is it 50% plus 1, or is it 75%? No.
Yeah. For the whole city?
No, for us to finish and vote on proposal.
That is such a good question. You guys get to decide what the voting margin is. And I actually have a slide about that here in a second. But on the 14th, we're going to work as a group to decide what is passing for us. Do we just need, just a little more than 50%? Do we want it unanimous? Do we want 75%? How do we decide what is going to come out of this group? Thinking ahead. Other questions about how this process is going to work? How am I doing on time? I don't even know.
It's 2:40.
It's 2:40. When am I don't even know when I'm supposed to be done. Okay, I'm just going to keep, here we go. How will the group decide? What margin does the decision need to pass? And then the other thing we're going to have you guys decide is literally how are we voting? Are we voting raising our hands and everybody sees how everybody's voting? Or do we want to do closed votes where you're writing something, on a ballot and then we tally? That's another decision you guys are going to get to make about this process. And I already talked about what happens after. Those are kind of those next steps. And then the last question, I think this is my last slide. Why are we doing this? I wonder, no, just kidding. So I think, and Tanya had us say what we hope to get out of this. And I was talking to Zuri about it. And the most important thing that I hope to get out of this is I want to prove that it matters to hear from everyday people about how our local government works, that is something that is worth doing, and that everyday people can and should be making informed decisions about their local government. To me, that is the most important thing. There's a lot of people who are curious what we're going to come up with about council compensation. There's probably less people who are curious what we're gonna come up with about charter review, but still some. Those topics are important, but more than that, I want this process to prove that everyday people can and should be involved in deciding how their local government functions. So I think that's the most important thing, but I think everybody has their own reasons. And with that, okay, any other questions about this process? Okay, I'm gonna talk about what's gonna happen next. We're about to take a break, but after the break, you aren't all gonna come back in here. We're gonna split into 3 groups. So if you look at the front of your binder, if you have a green cover on the front, you will be coming back in here. You will be hearing from our Director of Civic Education, Stephanie Mobley, about our local government. It's gonna be awesome. If you have a yellow cover of your binder, you are going to be going back to a room called the Drews Center, which if you go down this hall, past the bathrooms, around the hall, it is gonna be on your left, and we will have people kind of flagging you down, because it is actually not marked on the map. There's a map in your binder with the other rooms marked, but that one is not marked, so. And you will be hearing from Megan, who is right there, also about our local government. It's the same presentation, just 3 different people giving it, because we thought you guys split up for a minute. Finally, if you have a red cover on your binder, you are going to go to the classroom, which the easiest way is to go down that way and then to the right, but it's kind of on the far side of this loop, where you are gonna be hearing from Haley about our local government. And you need to be in those rooms by, what time is on the agenda? What time? 3:20, and right now it is, we're way ahead. Oh.
Maybe 3 o'clock.
Okay, yeah, you're gonna wanna be in those rooms by 3 o'clock. And bring your binder with you, and if you wanna grab on the table, there should be college rule paper and wide rule paper, because we didn't know what people would prefer. Grab some paper for taking notes. Bring your binder with you and be in those 3 rooms by 3 o'clock. Any questions? Oh, and also we do have some more snacks over on the left. And if you would like to do a testimonial video with Brandon about what you're hoping to get out of this process, he is set up right across the hall. And he has just a couple questions for people about what they want to get.
Our guests, where would they know which room to go into?
Guests, just stay in here. You will be hearing Stephanie's presentation. But it's the same presentation in all 3 rooms. This just has the most seats. Other questions? Okay, feel free, go outside, go wander around the lobby, do what you gotta do, and be in your rooms by 3 o'clock. Thank you so much. Yeah. No, that's, yeah, sorry. Yes. Sure, yeah. Yeah, I can do that. Let me grab I might try to get Richard's computer. We're gonna start at 3.
3:10.
3:05.
No, I'm asking.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
asking.
I told people to be in the room by 3. And then
But everyone doesn't need to hear this. No, but then I'm trapped. That's the problem. All right, he tells me I have to do the microphone.
Okay, so thank you. My name is Stephanie, and I am the Director of Civic Education. What that means is, first of all, I'm a retired teacher. So I taught in Bay County and retired in 2021. And now this is my new job. So I do what we're getting ready to do here. I take what CivicLex has always done, but I take it into the schools. So currently we are in about 30 of the Bay County schools, helping kids learn about their local government and get more engaged with their community.
So I'm hoping today that I feel like your behavior will probably be better than when I'm in the high schools, right? You guys aren't gonna act like they do, but maybe, we'll see. Okay, so first things first, we always ask kids, which one of these things do you think that Lexington can impact with policy? Okay, so all of these topics are things that people have big feelings about, but a lot of times we find that when we look at elections, the lower down the ballot we get, the less interest we typically find. So, looking at these issues, somebody just shout one out that you think locally we could impact. Housing prices. Business growth.
Police.
Traffic.
Homelessness? Snow plowing.
Timely, anything else? Are there any of them up here that you think we cannot impact locally? Are there anything, topics up here that locally we could not impact?
Food access.
Right. Okay, healthcare and then criminal justice, depends. But for the most part, all of these things, local policy can impact. Now, we're not going to fix it necessarily, but we can certainly impact it. Okay?
So this just demonstrates the importance of local and focusing on local.
Now, at CivicLex, we focus only on city government, and there's 3 primary reasons why we do that. Not the state and federal don't matter, but there's 3 primary reasons that we think local is important. City government, first of all, is less divided by partisanship, okay? And we'll learn about the nonpartisan elections that we have. Local decisions have an immediate, obvious impact. A couple of years ago when they passed the Sunday alcohol brunch sales, after that passed, you went to brunch that weekend, all of a sudden that was immediate about the impact. And last, lawmakers at the local level are more accessible. That is one of our council members, Dave Civic, and as you're going to see in a few minutes, Haley, my coworker who does comms, was doing a social media story for our page about Ellie, this dog, wanting to get a dog park in her neighborhood. And so we reached out to Councilmember Civic and said, hey, would you meet us at the park to take pictures for a social media story? And he did. Okay, at the local level, you're going to see them out, especially now when you know who they are. You will recognize them. The kids in the high schools, when we learn about them, then when they see them, they're like, oh, I saw so-and-so, and it just makes that connection. They're much more accessible. All right, it's time for a test. As all good teachers, I have to give you a pre-test to see what you already know. The only thing I ask is that you commit. I need to see conviction with your answers. Whether you're right or wrong, do it bravely. Okay, here it is. If you think the answer is true, I want you to give me a thumbs up. If you think the answer is false, I want you to give me a thumbs down. Okay, first question. This one is timely. Do you think the city of Lexington is responsible for maintaining all of the roads in Fayette County? Okay, that one is false. Can anyone give me an example of a road that Lexington is not in charge of maintaining? New Circle, all the state roads. Give me an example of a state road. Big Creek Road. Richmond. I-75, I-64. There are a lot of roads in Fayette County that LFUCG is not even in charge of. Okay? But New Circle Road, kind of an important one. Yes, ma'am. Correct. Now, I will tell you that in 1974, the city and the state came to an agreement that everything inside of the circle, even if it is a state road, Inside the circle, the city has agreed to plow and pave everything inside the circle. So Nicholasville Road may be a state road, but inside the circle, the city has agreed to plow and pave that. Okay? All right. Everyone did pretty well on the first question. Second question. The offices of mayor and council members are nonpartisan. Well, look, I can just sit down. You all got this. This is perfect. Okay? Again, as we said on the previous slide, city government is less divided by partisanship because they don't come in with that over their heads. Okay, last one. LexChan, FCPS, and the public library are all part of LFUCG, Lexington Fayette Urban County Government. True or false? Oh, I got more people unsure on this one. Look, people are looking around, they're not sure. Okay, think about your schools. The mayor doesn't run the school, she doesn't decide when we have snow days, she doesn't decide the calendar. Okay, so that doesn't mean that these entities don't get some tax money, but they're not run by that. Okay? Correct. Okay, so LFUCG, and when Vice Mayor Wu was here, and Mayor Gordon was here, and Kit, they've said some of these things that were in my presentation, so we can kind of quickly go through those. Lexington, there's 120 counties in the state of Kentucky. We have the only fully merged city and county government. Other counties have parts that are merged, but we have the only fully merged one. It happened in 1974, and it's kind of a big deal that it has happened and is successful. Okay, other counties have parts that are merged. This was a picture taken in 2024. It was the 50th anniversary. Okay. Does anyone have any ideas on why they would want to merge them? They didn't do it just for funsies. Combine resources.
Better efficiency.
Mm-hmm. Anyone know how much a fire truck costs? Any guesses? More than $500,000. Yes, it's around $1 million. So prior to this, when we had two fire departments, city fire department, county, again, why would we want to merge our governments together? Okay, not only makes it more efficient, but it combines resources. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kids are always shocked when I ask them that question, how much do you think a fire truck costs? Some of them say $20,000. Have you ever bought a car? Just a fire truck. So anyway. Okay, so 3 branches, 3 levels. We all know that. We do not deal with the judicial branch. That doesn't mean it's not important. It's just not something that is in our realm of work. So we're going to start with the executive branch. I like to draw parallels to this because everyone, I know in 5th grade, 8th grade, 12th grade, the state determines that that's something you're supposed to learn. It's about the structure and function of government. But everyone focuses on federal, maybe you get a little bit of state, but does anyone ever remembering learning about the local government when you were in school? Not really, like, you know there's a mayor, right? Like, that's it, okay? When I go into the schools, part of why I do what I do is that there aren't resources for local government. There's nothing, it's not like there's a textbook that you can read that teachers can use. So teachers are very appreciative that we do this. Just so you know, everyone in Fayette County Public Schools has to have government to graduate. They have a government class. And we go into every class in Fayette County High Schools and teach this. So they're getting it. I can't make it stick, but they're getting it, okay? All right, so we all know the federal, we have president, vice president, cabinet. At the state, governor, lieutenant governor, and cabinet. What does that look like at the local level? The mayor? Okay, no. Okay, what is the most glaringly obvious thing missing from this box? The council is our legislative body. But look up here, we have president, vice president, governor, lieutenant governor, mayor. no vice mayor. He is actually part of the legislative branch. He is not part of the executive branch. Okay? When does the vice president get to vote? To break a tie, correct. At the local level, the vice mayor votes every time. He doesn't just save his vote for a tiebreaker, that's not what he, so he is part of the legislative branch. Okay? And instead of the cabinet, we have departments and then boards and commissions. All right, if you're the mayor, you get elected. What's your job? What's your task, okay? When you go to work, what do? You're chief executive, elected for 4 years. The difference is the magic number at the local level is 12. So a mayor can serve 3 4-year terms. Okay, nominates and hires government staff. We know that at the federal level, the president nominates. Who approves the president's nominations? Okay. At the local level, same thing. She can nominate people to be in certain positions. Where would that approval come from? It would be our legislative body. Okay. Sets the budget priorities. Same thing as the federal level. The president doesn't spend the money, makes the recommendations, but Congress controls the purse. At the local level, the mayor makes the recommendations. She can create what she would like to see the city spend it on, but city council actually spends it. So it's very, very similar, just on a much smaller scale. Okay? And then creates programs to address issues and create opportunity. All right. A lot of faces up here, a lot of faces that are in the executive branch that are not up here. Okay? When we go into the schools and we hold these expos where we invite government departments and divisions into the schools, a lot of these people come into the schools and the students get to meet with them and ask them questions about their city. And these people are very willing to come in and spend time in each one of our high schools to talk and introduce themselves and let the kids learn about what is happening in their city. Okay. Let's jump over to the legislative branch. All right, who passes the laws for the United States? Congress, divided into 2 groups called? How many people total are in Congress? Close, you're close. No. You're even closer. 500, thank you, 535 people make the laws for the whole United States. Okay? All right, who makes the laws for the state of Kentucky? The kids always say state Congress, and it would be so nice if that was the case, right? It would be easier to remember. We do have a Senate for the state and a House, but together, do you know what they're called? The General Assembly. Okay. Again, it would be super helpful if we had the same names all the way through, but no, we do not. All right, at the local level, who makes the laws or the ordinances for the city? What's the city council? Is that it? Okay. The vice mayor is the head of that. We said he's not in the executive branch. He's actually part of the legislative branch. And then we have city council and then committees. And so we will look at that. Now, how is city council organized? There are 15 people on city council. So 15 people are making the laws for Lexington, Fayette County. Okay, we don't need 535 like we have in the United States. That would be chaos. We only need 15. The difference is there are 2 kinds of council members. So I kind of draw a parallel to Congress being made up of senators and representatives. Council is made up of 2 kinds of council members. Okay, the first ones are council members at large. To be a council member at large, you have to be 18 years old, you have to live in Fayette County. They could all 3 end up living on the same street. Doesn't matter where you live, they just have to be in Fayette County. Okay? When they get elected for 4-year terms. So every 4 years, these 3 people are up for re-election. Okay? We do have term limits on our city council. The magic number is 12. That's what we get. Now, there is no election for vice mayor. You cannot put your name in and say, I want to run and be the vice mayor. Not possible. There is no race for that. Now, we all know that we have a vice mayor. We just met him, right? So it's possible we have a vice mayor, but there is no election specifically for that. When you vote, when you go in to vote for council at large, all the candidates' names who are running for council at large are on everyone in Fayette County's ballot. You will vote for your three. The top three become your council members at large. The one with the most of those three becomes the vice mayor. So they do not run on a ticket, okay? Mayor Gorton and Vice Mayor, we were not on a ticket together, okay? So he became the vice mayor without running for vice mayor. He was running for council at large. He was one of the top three vote getters and that actually ended up being the top vote getter, okay? So that's the first kind of council member of our 15. The second kind of council member that we have are called district council members. Now these, you have to live in a certain part of Fayette County. Okay, there are 12 districts, and we're going to look at the district map in just a moment and what that looks like. There are 12 districts. When they get elected for 2-year terms. So every 2 years, they have to run again. I think that would be hard, because by the time you get into office and just get going, you got to start running again. Okay, this November is one of those years that every seat on council is up for election. Okay, so 2-year terms, magic number at the local level is 12. So they can serve 6 2-year terms. Now you can serve 6 2-year terms and then run for council at large and serve 12 more years. So technically you could be on council for 24 years, but that's like 2 different jobs. Being a council member at large is different than being a district council member. Okay? Okay, so if you have an issue and you need help with this or guidance, who represents you? Every time you have an issue, you have 4 people that you can talk to on council, because the at-large council members represent everyone in Fayette County. That's who they're elected to serve. And then your district council member. I live in District 5. And so if I have an issue, I could talk to my 3 at-larges, or I could also talk to my own council members. Anyone have any questions about that? Okay, good. Y'all are great. All right, so you get elected to city council. This is going to be relevant in your discussions when you're talking about the council compensation. So what is their job? Has anyone ever been to the Government Center, City Hall? Okay, this is the 2nd floor. This is council chambers. It's called the Horseshoe right there. This is where they are. They're sitting, you can see the vice mayor's right in the middle with the mayor, but that's the 15 council members sitting there, okay? The meetings are open to the public. You're welcome to go attend Tuesday nights, Tuesday afternoon, Thursday nights, okay? All right, so what is their job? Their job is to write ordinances, which are laws at the local level. Resolutions are similar to laws that have no action behind them, okay? Now, here's the checks and balances to what we learned about the mayor. The mayor approves or nominates, city council can approve them or not approve them, okay? And then they help draft and approve the final budget. The mayor makes her recommendation, in April she'll give her budget address, then city council takes the budget and they go from there. Okay, but spending the actual money is council's job. All right, the vice mayor has a little bit extra responsibility. He's kind of like in charge of who's on which committees and setting meetings and rules on how they do business, okay? Now, what do you do as a city council member? There is a lot involved in this. We've said it's a part-time job, but it's way more than part-time hours, okay? So, city council, the 15 up there is for how many of them attend this. There are 15 city council members. Their job, they attend council meetings, city functions, meet with constituents, respond to emails, phone calls, things like that. All 15 of them do that. Okay? Next thing they have to do are committees. Council committees are where a lot of ideas come first. Nothing becomes a law or an ordinance without going through the committee first. Okay? Now, there are only 4 committees. They have wide scope of topics that they cover, but there are 4 committees. Every city council member has to be on 2. You can be on 3, but you have to serve on 2. The vice mayor is the one that assigns people to their specific committees. Okay? Now, let's talk about what these committees are. First one is BFED, Budget, Finance, and Economic Development. That's the money. These are some examples of things that each committee would do. Okay, it's not all encompassing. They would do more than just this, but these are just some, to give you an idea of what they do. So that's what the BFED committee would do. EQPW, Environmental Quality and Public Works. This one looks at our snow and ice removal. Street trees and recycling. Social services and public safety. Okay, the one Lexington is our youth gun violence prevention program, paramedicine, affordable housing. Those are the things that fall under the umbrella of SSPS. And then general government planning. So looking at these 4, if you were on city council and you had to choose 2, I'm going to call them out, and if you think you would like to be on one of these, like if it's BFED, you think you're interested in spending that money, put your hand up and let me just see where your interest lies, okay? Who would be interested in being on BFED, the budget? Okay? Who would be interested on EQPW? You're gonna straighten them out, help them get all these roads plowed? Okay, SSPS, anybody want to be on that one? Okay, remember you have to be on 2, and GGP. Anybody an overachiever and think they want to be on 3? Okay, you said you want to be on 3, which one do you not want to be on? Because that means there's one up here that you don't want to do.
SPS.
Okay, you don't want to do that one? Okay. No. Okay. So they do everybody does all of these, and then when they get into committees, there's 10 of them on a committee. And again, the vice mayor is assigning to make sure they're balanced on there. But wait, there's more. They also serve on subcommittees, task force, workforces. And sometimes before a committee does something, they will say, let's study this. We need a little more work. So they'll form a task group to study, or task force to study it, bring the information back to the committee so that the committee then can make a decision. Now, wheels of government turn slowly. It's not like they're studying it this week, taking it to committee the next week, and then the next week they're voting on it. That's not how this happens. It would be great, but that's not how this happens, okay? So there's generally 10 or less of these. They focus in more closely on an issue. When they were looking at New Circle Road and how to take care of the north side of New Circle, there was a task force that looked and did some extensive work on that, took the recommendations back to them, to the committee, who then could take it forward from there. The vice mayor is also in charge of creating these. Lastly, they also can serve on boards and commissions. Now, anybody can be on a board or commission if you're 18 years old and you live in Fayette County. There are over 60 boards and commissions. If you're interested, look them up. There's vacancies all the time on boards and commissions, okay? You would be shocked at the wide variety of topics that boards and commissions cover. Okay, but we would encourage you to be on those. But these are some of the things that council members do in their part-time job. Okay? Now, quickly, I'm going to take you through this process. I mentioned to Ellie in the beginning our dog that wanted to get a dog park passed. And so here is, a lot of times people ask us, how do I do this? How do I get something done? Well, we don't advocate. We can help you understand the process to see if you can get your idea passed. So first thing you do is talk to your council member. That can be email, that can be a phone call. You can ask to meet with them in person. For our purpose, we met with Councilmember Civic in person, took pictures. This is Ellie telling him how she would like to have a dog park in her neighborhood. Survey to you. Who would like to have a dog park in their neighborhood? Who feels strongly about it? Okay, I'm gonna use you, so just be prepared. Who would not want a dog park in their neighborhood? Anybody anti-dog park? Okay, good. I need you guys too. You didn't know you were signing up for this, did you? Okay, Councilmember Savigny meets with you. He gets your idea, your concern, whatever, whichever way it goes, and he will refer it to the committee. His job is to be like, oh, I had a constituent bring it to me. This should go to this committee. He refers it to the committee. Okay, you don't have to know which committee it goes to. That's his job. Okay, from there, the item goes to the committee and they're going to discuss it. See all those people in there? Okay. Now.
Does he present it to the committee?
Yes.
So he presents the
Yes.
idea?
Yes. Yes. I'm double checking myself. Okay, so the committee decides, yes, this is good, we want to move forward with it, or we don't. So for the sake of Ellie and her little dog park, it's moving forward. Okay, so after the committee passes it, it goes to work session. That's where all of the committees come back together, the whole council, and they say, what do you have from your committee? What do you have from your committee? What do you have from your committee? And they talk through all of the things that have happened in the committee. Now, work session is open to the public, and there's a time for public input. Has anyone ever attended a city council meeting? Okay, when you go to City Hall, to the Government Center, you sign in if you want to give public input. There's a time during the meeting that they will allow public input, okay? Now, you said you were pro dog park. All right, I'm putting you on the spot. I'm hoping you're brave. Would you stand up in front of, hypothetically, would you stand in front of the work session on a microphone and talk for only 3 minutes about why a dog park is a good idea? Would you be brave enough to do that? You can take notes.
Not right this second.
No, right, but you would, okay. So he's gonna go, and during public input, he's gonna stand up and talk for 3 minutes to the work session, which is the whole council, and say, here's why I think a dog park would be a really good idea. I think you should vote for it. Now, you guys are my anti-dog park people, correct? You're gonna go to the meeting too, and you're also gonna sign up to give public input. Because you want your turn to help council decide that you don't want a dog park. You only get to talk for 3 minutes. Now, would you be brave enough to talk on the microphone at a meeting? If you have notes, you're allowed to take notes with you. Would you talk on the microphone? Okay, all right. Is there anyone in here who is anti-dog park that doesn't want to talk on the microphone? Okay, for the sake, thank you. So here's what you can do. You can go to the meeting, and as long as you're there, you can give her your minutes. So now you've got your 3 and this 3. So you can say a lot of things in 6 minutes. Does anyone else want to give her their minutes? Okay, thank you. Now, that's max. You can get 2 other people's minutes, so you can talk for 9 minutes. That's it. But you can talk, okay? Now, you guys have to be there. She can't just come in and say, well, they gave me their minute. You have to be there. Okay, so you're going to talk for 9 minutes about why you think a dog park is a bad idea. Everyone who signs up for public input gets to talk. Sometimes, guys, these meetings go on for a really, really, really long time. Okay? Okay, well.
So can I give him my minute?
Yes. Yes. All right, so now you're talking for 9 minutes, okay? All right, let's look at battle now to see who can get the most minutes. All right, well, look at that face. How can you tell Ellie no? So work session, it gets passed through work session, so now it's going to go to the council. Despite your best efforts, you gave it a good try. So what's the next step? Goes to city council. The first time it happens is just the first reading of this. But good news, you can go to this meeting, you can sign up to do your public input again, and we can go through that whole process. 3 minutes, you can give minutes up to 9. So all the same people that talked at work session can also talk again at the city council, the first reading. Yes.
We have data on the average length of the public discussion per issue.
It really depends on the issue. Yeah, some issues, the council meetings will go for 4 or 5 hours. Some, there'll be 2 people signed up to talk. Yeah, it really just depends. But there's that on the average. The average, we could probably get that data. Council started tracking public comment a couple of years ago, so we could probably ask for that and see if we could bring it to a future session. That would be helpful. It might be a great time about conversation. We'll do it.
Okay, so first reading, you show up, do your public input. Nothing happens, they don't vote the first time. They just read it, the public input happens. Then, a couple weeks later, it goes for its second reading. But wait, public input gets to happen all over again. So you have 3 times through this process to weigh in on an issue. A lot of times people say, well, I went to city council and I talked and it didn't even change their mind. Well, this has been a very long month long process. It takes months. You can't show up at the second reading and think that you're going to impact change, okay? That's why part of what we do is to let people know this is what's happening this week at city council. This is what they're going to talk about this week at the meeting, okay? So that you have time to come for all 3 of these times to give your public input. Now, does that mean you're always going to win? No, because one side's not going to. But you can at least let your voice be heard, okay? And the dog park passed. There's Ellie and her dog park. Totally hypothetical situation. Okay, this is a sample schedule for a council member. This might be interesting for you all. We can share this with you all. I'm sure you can have access to this slideshow. But this is 1 week. Now, the 1 o'clock, these are those 4 committees that we talked about. On Tuesday at 1 o'clock is a committee meeting. Okay, every week it's a different one in the month, okay, because they all 4 can't meet at the same time. Every Tuesday at 3 o'clock is council work session. That's when all the committees come back together, the whole council meets and they say, let's talk about what happened in this committee, what do you have to report, okay? Those are locked in stone. This one is also locked in. Thursday night at 6 o'clock is council meetings. Now, these other ones change week to week. This is just a sample of all of the things that they do during a week. It's a lot, correct. Now, do they have to accept all of those things? No. Yes?
There's some blank spots. Is there
Correct.
something that they typically do, or is that just completely open?
This one, this week happens to look like this. But like, for example, information session on committee work. Maybe that's not this week. Maybe it goes longer. Maybe they schedule it in. You know, this Friday looks pretty open until that evening. You know, sometimes like when we have, this week we have an event in the high school, and then next week we have one in the high school. So those pop up. Sometimes they fill those blank spots. Sometimes they don't. So those vary.
I also feel like the problem solved with division, that could last 5 hours.
Correct, correct. So, you know, you can calendar, you can block it, but that doesn't mean that that's how long that's gonna last. Okay, so, yes?
How many absences do you get? Absences?
Yes, I don't know. Richard, how many absences do they get?
Oh, that's a great question. Brandon, do you have an answer?
I'm not sure now.
We can get that to, we'll bring that to the future meeting.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. And then
By the Tuesday.
is there kind of like a, this is squirrely, but is there kind of like either an average or a median of how many hours that accounts for?
How many this accounts for?
I mean, just a hypothetical,
I don't know, is there a typical week?
It's up to the council member and kind of like Stephanie said, what they commit to do, but for meetings, like she said, there's always a committee meeting on the weeks that there's no recess. There's a council meeting almost every week, except for the weeks that there are recess, and then work sessions every week. So those, I mean, it's like a minimum of 9-ish hours, but that's kind of a light week of meetings. Because we can have board and commission meetings, we can have advisory meetings, and I don't know that you have like a specific number of absences that you can take, but as long as you give appropriate notice, you're absent from that meeting. But an average week that's not in recess, I would say probably a minimum of 9 hours, but it just depends on the weeks, because public comment, like she's saying,
Sure.
goes a lot, so it depends on the topics that they're.
Yeah, look, not to throw statistics into a conversation, but, there's gonna be a distribution curve of, the average person in the average week. And so if the low band is 9 hours, the high band could be 60. And it's gonna follow some kind of distribution curve.
For meetings alone, I don't think that you would have a 60-hour week of meetings. Like, you might have a 20-hour week of meetings. You might have a 7-hour week of meetings. It just depends on how many issues are in that committee and how controversial they are, for how much public comment.
Yeah. And it varies by time of year, I'm sure.
What was that?
I'm sure it varies by time of the year,
Yeah.
seasonality.
Definitely, yeah.
And it would depend on which committees you're on, so sometimes, there are committees have issues come up that require a lot of time, or a lot of issues going through them, and some of the other ones might not. The question was asked, how many weeks of recess in a year? Or which district you represent also would be relevant for how much time it would be. Do you know how many weeks of recess there are in a week? And then, Kit, can we find that for next time? Is that gonna be one of the things when we talk about council?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Kit probably has anticipated way more questions than I have answers to. Correct, well, if the meeting's going on. I think you meant 9 hours is in like total for all the meetings together would equal 9 hours?
Between committee, work session, council, boards and commissions.
Could equal 9 hours, but not all of them, like back to back.
Not every, during the whole week.
Yes, like minimum. Okay? All right, so here's Fayette County. Here are the 12 districts. Okay, the districts are broken up by population. They are roughly the same population in each district. Do you all know which council district you live in? Great. Yeah, I didn't know if you were raising your hand. Okay. Do you know? Okay, it's okay. We have the ability to help you find that. Okay. So here are your 3 at-large council members. Okay, Vice Mayor Dan Wu. Underneath, you will see they each have a full-time legislative aide. The aides are considered full-time, and the council members are considered part-time. Okay. Also, underneath, you can see the committees that they are on. This time, all 3 at-large happen to be on the same 3 committees. It's not always the case, but that's how it is this time. Okay. All 3 of these positions are up for re-election in the fall. But Councilmember Ellinger said he is not running again, but the other 2 are in fact running again.
So coincidence that the at-large ones are not on one of the
They're not on there. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Okay. So here are your district council members. As Vice Mayor Wu said, this is our most diverse young council than we've had before. Councilmember Tyler Morton is the youngest council member we've ever had. He was elected at the age of 25. Okay. District 3 and District 6, these 2 council members did not run. They were appointed by the mayor. The council members who ran and were elected in those 2 districts have left. And so in order to keep the people represented in those districts, the mayor has appointed these 2 into these positions, and they will serve until the election. Okay. You can see the committees that they are on. Let me see. So we will have a new council member in 3 and in 6, and then in District 5 also, she's not running again. 7 and 8, this is their first, and 12, this is their first term in office. Okay. Councilmember 10 and 11 are going to have new council members because they are not running also. So council will look very different in the fall. If you are going to email your council member, I would ask, the best thing to do is to email them and their aide,
That's the best way to get a response. That just kind of helps. They help keep them organized, I think. Okay, anyone have any questions? Y'all have way harder questions than my high schoolers do, let me tell you what. Yes?
What radio station? Something about a radio.
Oh, during that schedule, did I put that on there? Was that on the schedule one? I don't know where that was. On here? I don't know. Which ones, Richard, do you know any radio stations that they would go to?
They regularly appear on, some council members regularly appear on some radio stations. The best way that I would find the information about where they're doing interviews are through their newsletters or on social media. But yeah, different council members go on different shows. Facebook. Yeah.
They almost all send out like electronic newsletters to their constituents. So if you don't get that, I would sign up for that, and that can keep you just up to date on what they're doing in the district. Did you have a question over here?
What is the rationale for the vice mayorship being awarded to the at-large member that receives the most votes?
We'll talk about that in our next education session.
See, I told you, you guys ask way harder questions than the high schoolers ask. Did you have a question too? Anyone else over there?
Why do you call it City Hall when it's an urban county government building?
It's the government center. I misspoke when I said city hall, but then I tried to correct myself.
And you have city council, and it's not a city council. It's a urban.
Correct.
county.
You have two former council members here. I'm trying to get my mouth shut. You know, I love it.
Just for legal reasons.
Correction will be made. Yes. Anybody else? Yes.
So with this current work schedule, I know that work will be really thin sometimes, and then all of a sudden you have a lot.
Mm-hmm. You're talking for the council members?
Yes.
Mhm.
So how, is there currently any backlog, or again, do they just spend that many hours just to get it out of the way, or, how does that flow work?
Do you have an answer to that?
What was the question?
Question?
See, you talk to me, so you didn't think you were going to.
Okay, so with the current schedule that the council members have, I know that there can be an ebb and flow to the amount of work that's actually required. So in times when things get hot and heavy, does there tend to be a huge backlog of work that they have to put in extraordinary amount of hours to address until it is put back under control? How is that flow and how is that managed?
Okay. Yeah, so I'll say that a lot of it depends on the individual council member. And, one of the things about council that we'll learn on Tuesday is that different council members, put in different amount of hours, right? There are set amounts of hours that they are, supposed to be working in committees or working on things, but different council members put in different numbers of hours. And that's part of the role as it's currently structured. I think that there are times when council members do have an enormous backlog, and there are some council members that really dive into that backlog and spend many, many hours working on it. There's some that don't. I think it really depends on the individual council member, their approach to the role, and their approach to the individual structure of the committees that they're on, the boards and commissions that they're on, how engaged their neighborhood is. It's a variety of factors. So it's complicated is the best answer. Yeah.
And you feel like council members have full-time jobs?
We don't have any full-time jobs, do we?
So,
Oh, yes. Councilmember Beasley does, correct? Yes. I know there's a couple, or one now, I think he was a professor, or a realtor. You have to have a job that has, I always say there's no school teachers on there, and I think I'm biased, but I think it would be great with school teachers on there, but teachers can't leave every Tuesday at 1 o'clock.
Right.
So if you have a full-time job that would allow, the problem is, and I ask the kids, where would you work? What time of day? it's not like you can have a morning shift or an afternoon, like it would be very challenging to find a job that would accommodate. And, because this is just 1 week, next week it might be totally different, maybe only afternoon and evening stuff and not even morning.
So I would say that on Tuesday, during the education section on council, you'll hear from a wide number of council members, past and present, about whether or not they had full-time jobs, part-time jobs, or no outside job while they were on council. We've asked them to bring that information and be prepared to talk to you all about it. And it'll be in small group conversations, so you'll really be able to ask some, some more nuanced questions about how people spend their time. Because there are some council members that don't have outside employment. But it really depends on the individual council member.
Could you go back to the district maps?
I can. This one?
It looks like the 12th district council person has to answer to Hadley County. And that's where all of the intersections between planning and zoning issues seem to be.
Yes. So the population of 12, well, the amount of large population, it took that much land. Correct.
It's not necessarily related to issues and conflict.
Correct. But
All of a bad job.
let's just say challenging job. Challenging job. Okay. Yes. District 3 is downtown in campus. District 7 is out there by Hamburg, 6 and 7, okay? So
Why are they colorful?
that's just our colors. We just did it like, the color doesn't mean anything, there's no significance to which colors are which. We just did it to break it up. So you can look up your district, you can type that in there, find your district. Yes, ma'am.
You said that each of the districts have about equal
Mm-hmm.
population. So as our community grows in different parts of town, do the regions change?
The districts, yes.
How long is that?
10 years?
Yeah, council districts are redistricted every 10 years following the census. That happens at like in 2020, there was a census, in 2030, there'll be a census, the decennial census. And that determines how the districts are, well, it provides information for how districts are redrawn, but how districts are redrawn is set by the city charter.
And it's to me that District 2 is a pretty large district compared to the rest of them.
Let's not be as densely populated.
The populated.
It's- Okay. Well, now you all are experts. Now, Tuesday night, you'll get more specific about just the council. This was just like a general overview for you all. Yes.
Will we have access to this?
We can. Of course, we can. Okay, yeah. No. Yeah. And now you know your daughter just had this at Lafayette. We literally just did this like 2 weeks ago at Lafayette. So you can go home and prison.
I was taking notes.
Oh no, we'll see if she was paying attention. Okay. All right. Richard, what time are they coming back? In 5 minutes, 4
That's an
o'clock?
excellent question. We're
I think
about
4 o'clock.
15 minutes ahead of time. So yeah, it should be
Here,
about
tell me
5
4.
minutes.
Okay, cool. All right.
Take a look. Take over.
I don't have to turn this off.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
trickling in. So I want to give you some instructions, as you can see here. At your table, we would love to kind of just debrief what we just went through, right? What we just experienced. And so the questions that I want you to answer at the table are, what did you learn in general? What were some of the things that you learned? What was the most interesting thing that you learned? What was confusing? And what questions do you still have? So here's my instruction. Choose the person that will be your spokesperson at the table is the person who woke up the earliest this morning. Whoever woke up the earliest at your table will be the person to report out, but all of you will answer these questions at your table. What questions do you have? All right, go for it. Let's answer these questions together at our table. catch up. Yikes.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, there we go.
Sorry.
All right, so we're gonna answer the questions, and this time I'm gonna start in the middle, in the back. I'm gonna keep changing up. You never know where I'm going. You never know it. So in the middle, in the back, if we could start with whoever woke up. Who woke up earliest this morning at that table? Okay, it's Zuri. All right, so you're going to share what was shared at your table. What did you learn? What was the most interesting thing you've learned? What was confusing? And then what questions do you all still have?
We learned a lot about how the council works, how the meetings, just about the districts, how it's set up.
All right, so we learned about how council works. We learned about how the districts are set up, right? What was the other thing?
And we learned about at-large versus district.
Okay.
We learned about, I didn't know about the vice mayor. I didn't know how that worked. I thought it was like on the ticket, just like a presidency.
Okay. So we learned quite a bit over there.
We learned a lot. Honestly, a little bit of an overload of information.
Okay.
I'm grateful.
Okay. What was the most interesting thing? Did you all have come to a consensus back there?
The most interesting thing, let me see. The most interesting, I would say government isn't easy. There's a lot of like behind the scenes work, a lot of like roles that aren't quite defined. There's just a lot going on that we just weren't aware of. It's just interesting to analyze and see how it actually works.
Government isn't easy. Okay, yes. Okay, thank you. Was there anything that you all came to a consensus that was confusing?
Confusing, what was confusing? Just expectations of the council people. Like what exactly they're doing, like when they're showing up at meetings, all this kind of stuff. It's like trying to figure that out.
Okay, so that's still a little confusing, trying to figure that out. We're taking live notes so that we can make sure that we have this information. Thank you. And was there a question that anyone still had at your table that we need to answer maybe in a future session?
We had a discussion about the DMV, if that was state or local government.
Okay. Thank you very much. DMV, did we get that? We got that? The DMV. Okay, so state or local. Thank you so much. Round of applause for that table. Now we're gonna move to this middle table right here. Who woke up the earliest? Okay. 2:30. Oh my.
2:30, I was so anxious to meet you today.
Oh, thank you so much. I love that. I hope you get some sleep tonight though. Okay. What did you learn?
Okay, so about term limits, the 12-year term limits. And about the 3 at large, and that they have to choose if they're gonna be representing the district or they be at large. They can't do both. And we can be more involved as a people, residents, we can be more involved and knowledgeable about what's going on.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so that's what you all learned.
Yeah.
What was the most interesting thing that you learned?
The vice mayor has a ton of power.
Yeah.
I mean, he decides who's gonna be on what committee. So if he don't like you and you wanna be on a committee, he can decide no.
It's a lot of power.
It's
a lot of power.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's still confusing or something that we need to go talk about in the future session?
How much time does the job actually require? We saw the chart, with all the time.
Yep.
It doesn't really say that takes 30 hours a week or 10 hours a week. I mean, you could have 50 start times if you're only working 2 hours total a week. So it needs to be more expanded than just how much time they are actually working in a week.
Okay, so we need a little more clarity around how much are they actually working, how many hours are actually required. And are there questions that you still have besides that one? That kind of bleeds into the questions you still have.
Also, I'm confusing all the committees.
It's a lot of committees, y'all. It's a lot of committees.
Yeah. And so the one question we still have is on term limits.
Okay.
So one thing that we didn't know is if you're on for 12 years maximum, then can you be off 2 years and then run another 12 years?
Ooh, that's a great question. Okay, the answer has been answered. Yes, Richard. Richard says yes, thank you.
You can invariably have the same problem we have with our federal government. They're there for life. Just take 2 years off every 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
I will not resign editorial judgment.
In theory, that answer is yes.
In theory, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's great.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm gonna move to back here in the back left. Thank you so much, appreciate that. Who woke up the earliest back there? Oh, was it 2:30? Is that the winner?
No, 7:19.
Okay, 7:19, not bad, not bad. All right, what did you learn?
So one of the big things we kind of took away from it was the structure of the council members, the at-large versus the individual districts. I know personally, I remember voting and being a little confused why there were 3 that didn't have a district listed, and now that's making sense.
Now you get it, yeah.
The vice mayor is a legislator, is kind of, I guess, separate from the mayor and the executive side, and then the laws start committee.
Okay, those were amazing things to learn. What was the most interesting thing? Did you all come up to a consensus? What was the most interesting thing you heard?
We had a couple things. I think one of them was the merged city and county government being a little different from kind of our normal expectations of what counties are. And then there were 70 boards and commissions. It was a lot.
It's a lot of boards and commissions. Yeah. Okay, that was one of the most interesting things. What was confusing or still confusing? Questions you still have?
So the different types of districts and the districting, I think, was a little confusing. And then the kind of questions we have coming out of this, and it's kind of already been covered a little bit, was the council measure scheduling, the time required. That's like the baseline of which meetings they're required to attend versus expected from both maybe fellow peers and also the public. And then what kind of hours do they have outside of just the meetings as well?
Right, so those hours, like you saw them coming here today, right? That's something, there's other hours that they might be committed to, so we want to get some more clarification on that as we're making decisions.
And like the kind of extracurricular, homework they take home, that too.
Okay, thank you. You getting all this? All right, we got it. Thank you so much. We'll move to the back right table. Who woke up the earliest there this morning?
So we listed that the government, somebody said the government does more than they thought. So that was interesting.
That's interesting.
Day in the life of a council member, which we'd love to ask more questions next week when they're here. Do you do all that? Or we know there's some requirements, but just to look at their day of the week.
Okay.
Thought that was interesting. Let's see. Oh, Mrs. Hamilton, how much power she has. Mrs. Hamilton. Sally Hamilton.
A lot of power. There's no editorializing, right? At all. No, we're just hearing the facts from you. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so that was our learn. I think what was the most interesting thing was that the vice mayor's job and how that process works. And then for confusing, what district? They weren't sure about the district, so we got that straightened out. Overall, it's very good.
Okay. Any questions you all still have that we need to answer in a future session?
No, we just want to talk to council members next.
Besides the question, their schedule and where they're supposed to be. Okay, thank you so much. Round of applause for everybody. These 2 groups are going to go next, so I'll start right here. And then you all will round us out. Finish us up.
So the other tables took our answers.
Gosh, guys.
It was interesting to see what is and what is not part of the county government. And the narrowing of duties through committees and when public input sort of matters compared to what I think the public thinks. Interesting, the hours that they put into a full schedule. Of course, we want to get more clarity on that and see how that actually works. And then kind of a philosophical or rhetorical question about the merit to the term limits rules and if they serve the purposes that they were originally meant to. The fact that they're there for consecutive terms and then you can take a break and then come back. Interesting.
Yeah, I think we're all finding that interesting, right? And adding to the questions that we still have about that, how that works. Anything else from your group? Okay, thank you so much. Last but certainly not least, front left. My left, your right. You woke up the earliest, huh?
Not by choice.
Okay.
It was 9 o'clock and I was pushed out, so.
Okay, there you go. What'd you learn?
I might actually end up combining all of these points, especially since everyone answered most of
They
the
took yours.
questions. But what my group focused in on is the schedule that the council members actually have. So from our understanding, that is an average of everyone's schedule. No schedule is going to be the same, and things will move around depending on what's needed at the time. I think there was supposed to be a 9-hour minimum that council seemed to spend, but we have no idea what the top end is. You know, are they going 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week? No idea. And as far as the schedule itself, it can jump around quite a bit to where, you know, sometimes you're, you know, almost doing an 8 to 5 kind of thing with, you know, gaps in between. And then other times you're working well into the evening, you know, at certain events. So from that understanding, it seems like you have to have a particular type of background that would allow for that kind of a schedule. Because one of the questions that we have is, you know, how many of these council members are retired people? You know, how many have a secondary job? So that way, you know, the $40,000 that they're making doesn't cover all their expenses, especially if they have a family or don't have health care. You know, what does that actually look like?
Okay, so I hear a question in that we still need to have answered, right? So we're getting it over here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
exactly. So, you know, some of the other questions that we had is, you know, the city unionized, you know, and we also heard that the aide makes about $80K. So, you know, we assume they're a full-time person, and, you know, there's its own schedule for that, but there's just a lot of unanswered questions, and it was interesting to learn more about the schedule, and hopefully that gets answered in future sessions.
Thank you. So how does the aid play into this too, right? They want to have some more clarity on that. 60? Okay. So, but how they play into this role of city council is going to be important. So thank you very much. Okay, everybody. So we just wanted to debrief that a little bit. It sounds like people learned a lot of the same things, but have still some of the same questions. So we'll be able to delve into that a little bit as we go forward. I'm going to invite Richard back up to introduce our next guest. And then we'll come back together after this next presentation and also kind of think through the same kind of questions. So just be thinking about that. What are some of the questions that you're still going to want to have answered, and some things that you're finding interesting that you're learning? Richard?
Great, thank you. I am not Fayette County Clerk Susan Lamb. My name, hey, it's good to see you all. Thank you all so much. It was so wonderful to hear all the questions that you all had, and so like already so much learning has happened. It's so great. This is just such an exciting process. I feel like I'm really nerding out a lot. I'm very excited to welcome to the stage Susan Lamb. Susan is many things, but one thing I want to acknowledge, especially in this project, is that Susan has been one of a handful of folks, about 10 people that have served on our advisory group. And advisory group is maybe not the right word. Our advisors have been really deeply involved in helping us plan this, meeting regularly, having one-on-one conversations with our staff, answering questions. And I'm just incredibly grateful to Susan for all of the work that she has put in. As you will soon learn, she has an incredible depth of experience. And it's been a real gift to us in this process. So I'm really excited to welcome to the stage Susan Lamb. Come on up.
I'm excited about being here too. As he said, my name is Susan Lamb, and I've been involved with local government for 40 years. My experience in local government has enabled me to both understand and apply the charter through a variety of roles. The roles were working alongside mayors and council for 21 years, and then serving as a council member for 8 years, and now serving as the Fayette County Clerk. First, I want to give a significant recognition to CivicLex and the staff and all the volunteers here today. This is monumental, what they're doing today to pull this off for a civic assembly, first time in Lexington, and I'm really proud of that. I also appreciate the opportunity to have a seat and to work alongside with the advisory group on this concept. And then thirdly, very important, mostly important, is for each of you in this room to participate in this process. Is you won't even know the impact that you've made until many years later, probably, because this is such an opportunity for Lexington. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about something that shapes nearly every aspect of life here in Lexington. It's our charter. The Lexington Fayette Urban County Government Charter is in many ways our community's constitution. The mayor did say this morning. I said I was going to be interesting to see how many words we overlapped with each other because we think a lot alike. It is the foundational legal document that establishes how our local government is structured, how it operates, and how it serves the people of Fayette County. But it didn't always exist. Before 1974, the city of Lexington and Fayette County were governed separately. There was a city government and a county government, each with its own departments, leadership, and responsibilities. The unique difference in Fayette County was that we only had one city, where most other counties in Kentucky have numerous cities. As Lexington grew, it became clear that having two overlapping governments created duplications, inefficiencies, and challenges in planning for the future. After World War II and prior to Lexington-Fayette County's merger, there were only 11 consolidated referendums that passed in the United States. Think about that. And Lexington was the 12th. That's pretty powerful. Professor W.E. Bill Lyons, he was a political science professor at the University of Kentucky at the time and later wrote about the merger process. The book titled The Politics of City-County Merger, The Lexington-Fayette County Experience. It's a very interesting read. There are copies out there, and you can look online. I believe that University of Kentucky has something to do with it. It's not published anymore, but if you have a chance of reading that, it's really interesting. Professor Lyons was part of a small group that initiated the petition drive to get the city and county to establish a merger commission to develop a comprehensive plan and charter under the provisions of the state enabling statute. He was subsequently appointed to the merger commission and selected to serve as the chairman of the Lexington-Fayette County Merger Commission, the body responsible for drafting the proposed consolidated city-county charter in 1972. On November 7th, 1972, voters made a historic decision by a rather substantial margin. They approved the consolidation of the city of Lexington and Fayette County into a single unified government referred to as an urban county government. The charter was drafted to make that vision a reality. On January 1 of 1974, the Lexington-Fayette Urban County government officially began. We were the first merger in the state of Kentucky. And just a side note, there is only one other county that's merged, and it is not fully merged. It's Jefferson County. And another interesting side note, I'll try not to depart too much off this, but when they first merged, they followed the Nashville-Davidson model of Tennessee, where it was a metro form of government, and they started out as a partisan. They have 27 council members in Jefferson County, Louisville, Jefferson County. They have just recently changed that to become nonpartisan, which I think is interesting, and I'm anxious to see how that goes. I think this is the first election this year that will apply. Side note. It was written to streamline so why was the charter written? It was written to streamline services, to eliminate duplication, to strengthen financial accountability. The charter establishes a new unified structure. It defines executive and legislative authority, much you've just learned about, clarifies taxation, service and administration, land use and growth management, and provides checks and balances. As you just learned, Lexington-Fayette Urban County government is structured at a mayor-council form of government, defines the powers and the duties of the mayor as chief executive. It creates a 15-member council, 12 districts and 3 at large, who serve as the legislative body. It outlines how ordinances are passed, how budgets are adopted, and how departments are organized. In practical terms, this means that police, fire services, public works, parks, and planning, to name a few, are all coordinated under one urban county government structure. Residents interact with one government, not two, for services, permits, taxes, and public safety, just a few to name. The charter affects daily life more than most people realize it. You're going to learn that in your process. It determines how decisions are made about infrastructure. It establishes accountability standards and ethical guidelines for public officials, and it ensures the taxpayers' dollars are managed through a transparent budgeting process. Most importantly, the charter reflects the will of the people. It exists because voters chose consolidation, and any significant changes to it require public involvement and approval. Our charter is more than a document written decades ago. It is a living framework that continues to shape Lexington's growth, governance, and quality of life. Understanding it helps us understand how our community works and how each of us has a role in shaping its future. Your all's role big time now. Our charter carries historical integrity. Remember that. Our charter carries historical integrity. It reflects the values, lessons, and structure that have guided this community for generations. At the same time, responsible leadership requires periodic review, not to erase our foundation, but to strengthen it. Preserving tradition and improving structure are not opposing goals. They are partners in good governance. I believe this civic assembly is important for Lexington-Fayette County. To allow modernization, we can reflect on current needs and values, modernizing governance and ensuring it aligns with the community's expectations. We need public participation to provide opportunities for the public to participate in decision-making, fostering a sense of ownership and engagement in local governance. We enhance accountability by clarifying roles, responsibilities, and decision-making processes. We always have legislative flexibility to accommodate new legislative requirements and challenges, ensuring that local governments remain responsive to changing circumstances. Most importantly, and I say most importantly, is public trust. A well-reviewed and updated charter can improve public trust in local government as it demonstrates a commitment to transparency and responsiveness. Most importantly, public trust. By reviewing charters, communities can ensure that their local governments operate effectively and is representative of the values and needs of the people it serves. May you understand the value of the responsibility of your role in this civic assembly, and good luck to each of you as we honor our charter's history and we strengthen its future through thoughtful review. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Susan. What a perfect segue into talking about past charter review processes. So just like Susan said, we really want to situate you all in the history that is part of this community. And so that is my job up here right now, is going to be to help y'all understand how we kind of got to this spot, what other charter review processes have looked like, and where we are today. So as Susan mentioned, in 1972, voters in Lexington and Fayette County overwhelmingly approved a merger of the city and county governments by over 70%. And this created the first fully merged city-county government in Kentucky, which officially came into effect on January 1st, 1974. And the name of the government, as you all know, is the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Government. Rolls right off the tongue. Under the charter, Lexington adopted a nonpartisan mayor-council system, a 15-member urban county council, and an elected mayor as chief executive. And proponents at the time touted it as a way to eliminate duplicate services and modernize local government. In the first few years of the merged government, several lawsuits were raised against the city. None of them struck down the urban county structure, but some of them made minor modifications. Nothing incredibly significant, but a few changes. The next major change to the charter happened in 1987. And there were changes made to both council and mayor positions in this 1987 review. So there was an internal committee of local government that reviewed the charter and then sent changes to the public that were voted on in 1987, and those approved changes took place in 1990. Voters approved 3 changes: lengthening term limits for the mayor to 12 years, lengthening district term limits to 12 years, and making the vice mayor elected by popular vote. This was a question earlier. Who said, how's the vice mayor elected? Someone said it over here. Yes. It was originally chosen by council. Council picked their own vice mayor. And then in 1987, that was changed so that the top vote getter of all of the council at large candidates becomes the vice mayor automatically. Despite adopting these changes, they were all approved by the public. It generated some controversy during the process of creating these recommendations and then up into the vote. And some council members from news reports then suggested forming a citizens charter review committee. 2 quotes from 2 very famous Lexingtonians. The council badly needs distance from the issue. It is impossible for us to be objective, from Councilmember Pam Miller. And we are completely destroying the charter when we don't have more public input, from Councilmember Deborah Hensley. These are 2 very prominent former council members. In 1998, there was an external charter review commission that was led by Commerce Lexington, Lexington's Chamber of Commerce. They were tasked with creating an external charter review commission. It was formed mainly of prominent Lexington business and political leaders, and they created 6 recommendations. And these are the 6 recommendations: to make the terms of district council members longer, to eliminate the citizen advocate office. I don't know why there are 2 periods there. I apologize. It's not quite an ellipsis. It's not quite 3 dots. Increase salaries for both the mayor and council members. Elect the vice mayor separately from council, so that would be a separate position voted on. Put a 2-term limit on all council members and mayor, so rolling back the term limits that were done in 1987. And then automatically electing council candidates who receive over 50% of the vote in the primary election. So these are the 6 recommendations that came out of that 1998 External Charter Review Commission. One made it onto the ballot, and that was to extend district council terms to 4 years. The term extension was put on the ballot in November 1999, and that measure was walloped at the ballot box. It was rejected by voters, with 57% voting against it and 43% voting in favor of changing those terms. And that brings us to now. This is the most recent review of the charter since 1998, and since those 6 recommendations came out, and that one was made it onto the ballot. So I hope that this presentation gives you a little bit of a sense of just kind of how infrequently charter review has happened in Lexington since the urban county merger. And I hope it also helps you understand sort of the really exciting opportunity and significant responsibility of this body. This does not happen very often in Lexington. And so your all's perspectives and the opinions that you're going to generate over the next couple weeks, and then ultimately the recommendations that y'all come out with at the end of this month, have a really a significant opportunity to reshape what our city looks like and to reshape what our local government looks like. And so I hope you all really feel that sense of both excitement and responsibility. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can on any of these past charter reviews. We have a lot of documentation that you all can request from us if you want. News articles from past, from all of these sessions. We have documentation from the 1998 charter review. But do y'all have any questions for me about past charter review processes right now? Yeah.
Do you have any idea of why the change that term limits to be longer, why that was rejected?
Everything that I've heard is pretty anecdotal. So I don't feel like I can say anything explicitly. In this process, we've met with several folks that were involved in past charter reviews. We've talked to folks that have been around local government for a long time, that have been part of the city. And I feel like it's a little bit difficult to say exactly why, 57% of voters oppose that. One thing that has come up a lot is the role of the public. And there was not, from what we understand, in the 1998 review, there wasn't a significant amount of public engagement. And from my experience at CivicLex and from my understanding of how ballot referenda work broadly, typically when decisions are made without a wide amount of public input from people that have various perspectives, those items tend to not be approved by ballot referenda. One of the really interesting things looking at charter or at civic assemblies across the world is that what you typically see in the research is that it is almost a mirror image, the percentage that a topic is advanced out of a civic assembly that is approved by a public referenda. So if you look at many of the other ones that have happened, those numbers are pretty close. And so our hope is that by getting a wide range of people from a wide range of backgrounds, a wide range of different political perspectives, a wide range of experiences, that we can try and simulate as much as we can what the general public would think about these ballot referenda, if one were to advance. Yeah.
You probably might not, but do you have any idea why only one of the recommendations ended up on the ballot?
There is some sort of conversation in there. In the 1998, we don't have all of the notes from all of the meetings from the 1998 review process, but we do have this sort of final report that the commission presented to council. Our understanding is that is the one that folks felt had the highest likelihood of being advanced and the one where there was the most universal agreement on the commission. Yeah.
That's a two-part question.
Sure.
So if we come up with a recommendation to change the charter, who's going to be responsible for selling this to the council? And then who's going to be responsible for selling to the public when it goes on the ballot?
Excellent question. So in terms of who is selling it to the council, part of the work that we've done in this process is really trying to get a firm commitment from council that they will review and respond to these recommendations. Because the last thing that we would want to do is ask y'all to spend 35 hours of your life where you could be like hanging out with family or pets or being outside or going on hikes or, going to, I know Vicki really likes Drake's, going to Drake's. Like there are a bunch of different places, that people could be right now. And so we really want to make sure that y'all, since you all are committing your time, that those recommendations are heard. And so you heard it from the vice mayor today. We are already in a committee meeting scheduled for April 28th for these recommendations to be presented out. And council has unanimously adopted a resolution saying that they are going to listen to and respond to your recommendations. We don't know what you're going to say. So obviously, we don't know if they're going to adopt it or not. But we feel that effort has been made in good faith, that they will listen to the recommendations. In terms of selling them, one of the things that comes out of a lot of civic assemblies are that the assembly panelists themselves turn into the biggest advocates for the things that they advance. And so I hope that if you all feel really strongly about the recommendations that you advance, that you will be in touch with your council members to advocate for that. And if you oppose the recommendations that come out, I hope you'll be in touch with your council members to let them know that you oppose them. In terms of the public, we thought about this a lot. CivicLex doesn't take positions on issues. It's a really big part of our mission and how we build ourselves as an organization, because we want people, regardless of your perspective on any individual issue, regardless of your perspective politically at a macro level, we want people to be able to feel like they can turn to us and be part of our work. So we have committed to not trying to, as an organization, advance the recommendations that come out of this. So we will not be advocating for them publicly or to council. We will simply be presenting them and describing this process and describing your participation in this process. Any changes that are advanced out of council or out of this and end up coming out of council and make it onto the ballot, we are fully committed to doing everything we can to get the story of this assembly out, to help you all get on television or radio to talk about your perspectives as an assembly member if you want to. We'll teach you how to write an op-ed if you want to write an op-ed and don't know how. But we really hope that that your all's story and your participation helps folks in our community understand the seriousness with which you all have participated in this process, and therefore the thoroughness and validity of the recommendations that come out. Does that answer your question? Sort of. Yeah, it's about as good as I can do at the moment. Yeah.
That question as well, what you were trying to explain there at the end.
Yeah.
So CivicLex and your all's purpose is really just to facilitate whatever the outcome is, whatever the outcome of people's conversation is.
Correct.
So even if we all decide at the end of the day, we recommend that charter be abolished and we on our team to facilitate the presentation.
I don't think.
Not that it's actually-
Yeah. We probably won't facilitate a monarchy, but. Correct. Yeah, you all are here bringing your perspectives and your opinions, and we've asked you to commit in good faith to working together. And so we'll work with you to help you understand your options for advancing recommendations past this.
So the second part is looking back at like 1998,
Mm-hmm.
work that was done and all that. Would you say, looking back on there, not necessarily that there's been a lack of civil engagement from the people,
Mm-hmm.
but especially with you and your organization, have you seen a lack of organized civic engagement from Lexingtonians for the past 50 years?
I think Lexington is, okay, this is a little bit of a challenging question for me to answer. So I'm going to just take my hat off, my CivicLex hat off for a moment and just say a couple things. One, I think Lexington is an incredibly engaged community. I think people really care about the future of what happens here. And I feel like people often show up to participate. I feel like people are usually willing to give up their time to make that happen. At the same time, I think that there is a culture in Lexington of a group of people being engaged, various groups of people being engaged. And I think it is always a challenge. I guess I'm wearing my CivicLex hat. It's okay. One of the things that we always struggle with as an organization, and I think everyone always struggles with, you talk to council members, you talk to the mayor's office, you talk to anyone, is getting new people engaged. And I think that this is an incredible opportunity to get folks at, how many of y'all have ever showed up to a city meeting before? Okay. How many of y'all talked with your council member? Okay. So there are a lot of folks that haven't yet. And so I feel like the thing that is the most exciting about this process is an opportunity to get a set of folks that have maybe never been engaged before, or maybe have been engaged once or twice, to be very deeply engaged. I mean, y'all are going to be learning about some really nerdy, down in the weeds, dorky things. I say that as a committed local government nerd. And so like that to me is, I think, what is the most exciting thing about this process is like, not only are you all going to be deeply engaged, but your presence and your voice is really going to mean something. And I don't know any of you. We've vaguely know of each other, but that's it. And so I think having so many new folks in the conversation is the thing that we're really excited about, and I think the thing that advances our organization's mission. Does that answer your question? Cool. Any other questions for me? Anything I can do for you? Okay. On that, I'm going to turn it over to Kit. Thank y'all.
All right. How we doing, everybody? Good? Getting a little stir crazy or doing okay? All right, we are on track to finish on time, if not slightly early, everybody. So go team. I am gonna give just a couple like housekeeping announcements, a couple things right now. And then you guys are actually going to take a survey. And then after that, Tanya is gonna lead us in a closing activity, and then we will be done. So before we go down that home stretch, just a couple announcements from people. Number one, do not leave here today with your binder or your name tag. please leave both of those things at your table. If you want to get some extra credit points, tuck your little name tag into the front pocket of your binder. We will have those for you at the next session. We will be emailing out all the slides you saw today and other materials. If there's anything that you really need to take home to study, take it out of your binder, take it home, and bring it back. Leave your binders and your name tags with us. Good on that? Okay, great. Number 2, after the closing, we will have one more opportunity. If anybody wants to go on camera and give a little testimonial with Brandon over here, we just have a few quick questions for people about what do you hope to get out of this process? Why did you choose to participate? That we're going to use in a little video and compare as we go through. So if 1 or 2 more people want to do that with Brandon, that would be great. Number 3, also speak of Brandon. So our next session is going to be this coming Tuesday in like 48 hours, which is maybe too soon. That's on us. That's okay. It is going to be at the Cowgill Center, which right after the close, Lily is going to lead. Anybody who wants to go see that building and scope it out, you can walk over with Lily. It's about a 5-minute walk that way, just so you know where it is, because it's a little hard to find from Google Maps. At that session, Brandon is going to have a headshot station set up. So if you want to get a headshot of yourself, a photo of just you that we can put in the report, to represent you, and then also you can use for wherever you might want to put that, new Facebook profile picture or what have you, you can have that done at either of our Tuesday sessions. But we just wanted to give people a heads up about that, because if you want to come camera ready, that is your chance to do that. Dinner at Tuesday will be catered by DB8. It'll be sandwiches, so that should be yummy. Does anybody have any logistical, schedule-y questions like that? Yes. Will we park in the same parking lot? Yes, you will be in the same parking lot for all the sessions. If you would like to park closer than that parking lot, when we walk over to Cowgill, you'll see there's kind of a circle of spots out in front of that building that a handful of people can also park in if they need to. And just give us a heads up if you'd like to do that. Yes? Yes, yeah. If you are going to miss the next session, we'll send out all the materials. And then if you have questions, we can schedule like a one-on-one time to go through that. Other logistical type questions? Okay, great. Well, we have a survey for you guys that Ken Dochikal here is going to lead. This is, it's called like a baseline survey, and it's kind of to take a pulse of how you guys are feeling right now about the process, and also kind of about Lexington in general. And then what's going to happen is we're going to go through this whole process, and then Ken is going to have a second survey at the end, and we'll use that to kind of compare data. You can take it on your phone, raise your hand to do like a paper copy of the survey, and Ken can hand those out. Okay, just keep your hand up until he gets to you. A couple more up here maybe. Paper copy, or feel free to scan on your phone. It should take about 10 minutes, and then when we're done with that, Tanya's going to do our closing activity. Okay. If anybody has any issues with their paperwork, just find me after the session. We can work that out. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. Don't forget your checks. Don't leave those in the binder. Take those with you. All right. This survey should take about 10 minutes.
Anyone else need a paper survey?
Yes.
Well, show of hands, you need a little bit more time for the survey. Okay, great. Thank you. Show of hands, who needs some more time for the survey? Just, we're not rushing, okay? We're gonna get back. You can't see it? You're right. These are progressive. So. And I just want to again thank our volunteers with a round of applause. Getting us all the way to keep that applause going for the food service here. Really beautiful to have this space. So very, very grateful. Well, as we close, we're kind of going to do something that we've done already where everybody gets an opportunity to speak, but it's going to go much faster, right? We have less than I'm with you, Laura, I'm with you. But I do want to hear just some feedback about this session. So share one idea or a feeling that you're taking from this space with you today. So one idea or a feeling. It could just even be one word, right? So we're going to start this time. Where have I not started? I don't think I started back here at this table first. Right, so we're gonna start back there. Yeah, I'm gonna give you just everybody a moment though, just a moment to like, okay, let me think of my word. Share one idea or feeling that you're taking with you from this space today.
Cooperation.
Say that again?
Cooperation.
Cooperation. All right, we kick this off. Thank you so much. Keep going around. Optimistic.
History.
Say that again?
History.
History. Love history. Yes, history.
And I'm learning.
Learning.
And I'm curious.
Curious. Thank you. Up here?
I'm excited.
Excited. Thank you. Keep going around. Positive about the experience. Positive about the experience. Thank you.
Hopeful.
Hopeful.
Interesting.
Say that again, Connor. Interesting. Thank you very much.
So many of these words are good. I'm just going to say how I'm going to switch to optimistically intrigued.
Optimistically intrigued. Okay, I'm going to sit next to you. All right, over here. Over here. Responsibility.
Thoughtful.
Thoughtful.
Encouraged.
Grateful. Back to the back.
Educated.
Educated.
Engaged.
Engaged.
Intentional.
Intentional.
Comfortable more with like what we're doing and why.
Feeling a little bit more comfortable now we've got some education going on. Yeah, thank you. Up here?
I think we're knowledgeable.
More knowledgeable.
Intrigued.
Intrigued. Education.
Ready to get to work.
All right, let's do it. I'm excited. Oh, okay. Perspective. Meaningful. Thank you. Community. Passionate. Impactful.
I'm also excited.
Also excited. All right, staff, come on. Volunteers, give us some words over there. Word. And joyous. Heard.
Grateful.
Grateful. Inspired. Engaged. Happy. Optimistic. Hopeful. Excited. Yeah. I am grateful for this space and the ways that you all showed up. I'm grateful for our folks from the community that wanted to be here too, that made it here. It was incredible to see you still care so much about this and care so much about our community. So that makes me feel hopeful for my 8 and 9-year-olds who are Lexingtonians. So with that, I think, did we get everybody? We got everybody's word? So we have all the information for next time. Lily, if you will stand, Lily's going to take us, if you want to see Cow Hill before you leave, just so you can get your bearings, you can follow Lily. Other than that, leave your folders here and your name tag. Everybody take your name tag off and leave it in there. Thank you all so much. Can't wait to see you on Tuesday.